Howdy, Sippy Dave in the South. What we're working on today is some beehive. Since it's still raining, nasty weather, can't work on my tractor, can't work on a couple other things I'm doing outside that are surprises upcoming. So I'm working on the beehive. Since spring is almost here, the bees are getting a little antsy. They're starting to get out and get some pollen since we have some mayhaws and dogwoods are coming into bloom, so they're feeding on that. So anyhow, just making a short video here. A couple of people had asked about putting a webbing on these frames that go in a hive, and generally they use a foundation. Foundation is nothing more than a sheet of plastic that goes inside of here, and it's got a groove all the way around it, and it's got like a honeycomb base already on it, and you could get them with or without beeswax on them, which the beeswax promotes them to start building the rest of the comb on there for the honey storage or brood, whichever they're going to use it for, at a much quicker pace. Now, the way I'm doing this is that it still gives them something to build on, and since it is summer and there will be an overabundance of pollen out here for them to change into honey, it does take a lot of honey consumption for them to build the wax. But for the main point, I'm not too worried about that. We're going to be doubling the size of the hives, which is what these frames are for. So anyhow, I'll get right to it. And just so the simple but tedious process of putting webbing on these frames, I'm using 30-pound test nylon fishing line, and I have some other frames that I'll be using a fine galvanized wire, or stainless if I could find it. I prefer stainless. And but a few with this, we're going to get into breeding our own queens. So the reason I'm using some of these frames for this is that if you find a queen cell, you're able to cut it out of the frame and leave the rest of the beeswax undisturbed. So anyhow, I'll get right to it. As you can see, my special little hammer there works perfect for this right here. What I'm doing is I'm lining up the first nail with that top hole there. And I think I'd figure this took me between 6 and 9 minutes to do this. Okay, the second nail's going down here by the bottom hole. Go ahead and hold that one with the needle nose. Sometimes it's magnetized. Sometimes the old fingers ain't too steady. Plus you beat yourself with a hammer doesn't help matters. Of course, the fact that my table is bouncing too doesn't really add to ease of operation. So I start out, it's just my method I come up with. The wire is more difficult. I tried some wire, but it was actually electric fence wire. The gauge was too large, and I had to shit can that idea. It ain't gonna work. I've got a hole plugged up here. This is the first one I've had where I had a hole plugged up. There she goes. See, it's not that hard. It's just tedious trying to get this through the holes and then tie it to them nails. got it all the way through there. Now I'm going to make an extra loop through there. And then I'm simply going to tie it to the nail, which is easier said than done. And this is where the needle nose comes in handy. In fact, without the needle nose, this would be impossible at certain points to get. £30-pound test, you can pull it pretty tight. So I got just a double conventional double sailor's knot, I think they call it. Flush down the nail. Snip the extra. Alright. So now the fun part, and I've already cut my hand, I didn't even notice it till this morning, to where I've been pulling. Right there, the crack of my hand, that's where the string has been going. I thought about doing this with gloves, but you put a glove on and that's it. You can't do anything with this small stuff. So I'm going to try to do this without cutting myself. And get some tension on the string right here. Alright, I'm going to start at the furthest point. And I'm going to start pulling slack. And then pull this other string. Alright. Kind of brace off the edge of the frame. You can tell by the way that my hand is moving. Alright. And what I do now is I'm going to make a loop around that nail to hold the tension that I have. Got the string. Go back through the hole here for some additional strength if I can find it. Yep, my loop slipped off there, darn it. So I have to get the needle nose to help out. You can only apply so much pressure with your fingers. Check the tension, it's acceptable. Wrapped around that nail again. This is always the one that's the most time consuming. I got to make my knot. And this is where Mr. Needle Nose comes in very handy. I got to go under that string if I can get under it. Doggone thing slipped out. Like I said, this is the most tedious part. I didn't leave myself enough slack. So that's going to make it a little more difficult. I get the single, the first knot, it's a wrap. Turn it down a little bit. All right, I've got it. Get my second knot. All right, there's my second knot. That's all I need. And there it is. You can see the string. So the only way I know how long it took is to go back and look at the video, and then I'll be able to tell. More later. Hippie out.